if you're not going anywhere in life, people just automatically assume that the way to move forward is to like work harder or be more pitta. But the reason that you're not going anywhere in life may not be a lack of ambition. It may be because you're spreading yourself too thin. Okay, let's talk about solo cues, so much more toxic. Okay, so let's do something about habits. What's my opinion on the 16 personality test? What is the 16 personality test? I don't know what it is. Myers-Briggs. So Myers-Briggs is I think a useful descriptive personality assessment that is not like independently validated. So I think it's like a useful lens to understand behavior, but I don't think it is a good way to like make predictions. So it's funny actually. I just saw this in Reddit. So the first thing to understand about Myers-Briggs is it's not like independently validated. So there's a Myers-Briggs Research Institute which publishes a lot of research, but it's a proprietary model, and like there really haven't been independent studies on Myers-Briggs that show that it is valid. I think the Myers-Briggs can be very useful. So Myers-Briggs, interestingly, is actually based, I think, on Ayurveda, because Myers-Briggs is based on the work of Carl Jung, and Carl Jung's ideas were heavily informed by Ayurveda. So I think it can be a useful way to understand yourself, kind of like, and I like this top answer that someone says, that it can be like a useful way to like look at your own behavior and understand it, much like a horoscope. Like, you know, I mean, the horoscope is probably, I think Myers-Briggs is a little better than horoscope, but when I talk about Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, those are all useful ways to understand. Those are useful ways to understand like how you are as a person and understand your strengths and weaknesses and structure a life in your interactions to play to your strengths and weaknesses. So a couple of other questions. Are any personality frameworks independently validated? Absolutely. So the Big Five, I think, is the best. The 5-factor personality assessment is the best validated like system of personality. And the Big Five, so we can talk a little bit about the Big Five. So the 5 factors, so what the Big Five says is that most people can be sort of put on 5 different axes. So the axes are introversion versus extroversion, which is exactly what it is in Myers-Briggs. By the way, extrovert and introvert were words that Carl Jung, I believe, invented or coined. The next is agreeableness. So agreeableness is like how willing you are to go along with people. The third is openness. So how open you are to new experiences versus how shut off you are. Democrats in the U.S. or liberals score higher on the openness trait, and then conservatives score lower on the openness trait. Agreeableness. Then the next one is neuroticism. So neuroticism is your tendency for internal worry. So how much you get like bothered by things. And people may think that like being highly neurotic is bad or is worse than being like having low neuroticism. Whereas like if you think about someone who's super low on the low neuroticism scale, they're the traditional pothead. So they don't care about anything. They're just going to chill and relax. They have no ambition. That's low neuroticism. Nothing bothers them. They're happy to just chill out and hang. And then high neuroticism is like people who are super anxious. The interesting thing is if you look at medical students, they score very highly on the neuroticism scale. And then the 5th factor is conscientiousness, which is how driven you are towards a particular goal, like how conscientious you are, how much you take things seriously. So medical students are actually median income. So if you want to be rich, the two best traits are high neuroticism and high conscientiousness. You have to be very goal-oriented and driven towards success and have follow-through, and be internally very worried about things. You have to be scared, like you have to be anxious about failing the test, so you study extra hard. And then you have to be like, you have to study for the test. Can people change? I think so. So you can also like learn different ways. You have an intrinsic personality, but then you can like adopt different things. You can be naturally tended towards introversion, but as we were talking about, you can learn how to fill a room. You can be highly neurotic and then through meditation and psychotherapy learn to be less neurotic. You can have low conscientiousness and through some amount of emotional processing and reflecting and growth, you can become more conscientious. You can become more open to new experiences. You can become more agreeable. You can learn how to get along with others better. Yeah, so Alex Croft has it right. So the traditional pothead is low conscientiousness, low neuroticism. So people are asking about, okay, so when should someone change their personality traits when they interfere with your quality of life? Yeah, so I want you guys to understand this. So your personality can be what it is. I think the most important thing is that you play to your strengths. So for those of you who understand poker, like I think the problem is that as a society, and generally speaking, gamers are very guilty of this, they think that certain things are objectively better than other things. Like they say that like in poker, an ace is better than a 10. Like that's just true. And yes, in theory, it's true, but if you're playing poker and you've got the option for a flush draw, like you don't want an ace, right? You want like whatever suit. If you've got like, if you're playing Hold'em and you've got like 4-10 of hearts, like your strategy to win that game, like you can beat someone who's got an ace or even pocket aces. You can still win even though the other person objectively has a way better hand than you do. The problem is that when people rank things in a linear scale, which is what Western thinking does, we think about better and we think about worse, right? We think about like this person earlier was saying that like the workplace is structured to extroverts. That could be true, but it sort of doesn't fucking matter because you should just understand like what your personality strengths and weaknesses are and then play to those strengths and weaknesses. If you've got a flush draw, go for a flush. Like just because the dude next to you has pocket aces and can get like 4 of a kind with aces doesn't mean you should even try because it may be impossible for you, but you can still win. If you just, oh, sorry, my mic is exploding. Shit. Okay. So I think this is the biggest problem that people make is like you guys are talking about personality. I'd say don't worry about having the right personality or the wrong personality. Understand what your personality is and how you're going to be good at it. So if you have low conscientiousness and low neuroticism, you may think like, okay, my chances of being promoted are going to be lower than the person who's like worried about promotion all the time and the person who's hardworking. Well, that's true. And if you have higher openness and higher agreeableness, chances are your path through promotion is through like social standing. So people are going to like you way more than the person who's highly conscientious and highly neurotic. So your path through promotion is going to be through charisma. And once you understand that, then you have to understand like, okay, like how much conscientiousness do I need to exert? And how much neuroticism do I need to exert? And then how can I play to my strengths? Then Smigale 96 asks, if it's possible to alter our dosha somewhat, shouldn't we try to maximize our pittaness if we want to be successful? Yes. So if your pitta is low, so remember that problems in Ayurveda arise when your levels are too high or too low. So if you feel like you're not ambitious or not moving anywhere in life, I do think it will help you to increase your pitta. And more importantly, like you have to increase your rajas. But if you're thinking about like why you're stuck in life, it may not be that your pitta is too low. It could be that your vata is too high. And this is the other problem. So like just think about this for a second, guys. If you're not going anywhere in life, people just automatically assume that the way to move forward is to like work harder or be more pitta. But the reason that you're not going anywhere in life may not be a lack of ambition. It may be because you're spreading yourself too thin. So this is a classic Vata problem, where Vatas get stuck because they think they need to be more disciplined. It's not that they need to be more disciplined, it's that they spend their energy in too many different places. So if the solution isn't necessarily to increase your Pitta, it's to reduce your Vata. And this is exactly what I'm saying, is that depending on your individual personality makeup, there isn't a way to be successful. You just need to think about, okay, what is getting in the way of my success? Do I need to be more conscientious? Do I need to be more social? Is the problem that I'm having that, like, I don't get opportunities that other people get because I'm not social enough? Can I answer questions on suicide? Sure. I mean, I can't dispense medical advice. I may have to advise you to go to the emergency room, but I can answer questions on suicide. Like, I'm here to answer serious questions. Yeah, so if your kapha is too high, then you should lower your kapha. Right? You can increase your pitta, but you can also lower your kapha. Is viewing spreading oneself thin as a successful poor mindset? I don't know what that means. Oh shit, my bad. Okay, should I switch to the other? Let me just switch to the other. I don't know how to lower anything. I'm gonna just switch to my Yeti. So, okay. Let me just think. Okay, so the first thing is, what is Ayurveda? So last Sunday we talked about Ayurveda, which I think a lot of people found very interesting. But thanks for linking, Dank. So no. Thank you guys for letting me know. We're trying a new mic setup, so it's important to find a good mic setup. So this is what Ayurveda is all about. So Ayurveda believes that human beings are fundamentally different, and that there are three sort of qualities of human beings. And the best analogy that I can use that's kind of very accessible is that, like, there are some people that we say have fast metabolisms. These people tend to be thin, and, like, even if they eat whatever they want to, they can eat, like, fried chicken every day, and they're not going to put on, like, that much weight. It doesn't mean that they're going to be healthy, but that they just don't balloon up. Whereas other people are big boned. And even if they eat salads every day, they can still be overweight. And so, Ayurveda sort of says that, like, unlike Western science, which kind of says that everyone should eat a 2,000 calorie diet, that these are, like, everyone should have 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, and the kinds of fruits and vegetables don't matter. That you should have X amount of protein. It's a Western medicine has a common prescription for all people. It assumes fundamentally that people are the same. If you have pneumonia, you need a particular antibiotic to treat the pneumonia. Who you are, or how tall you are, or what your body type is, or how your stool is, or how your skin is, doesn't matter at all. Western medicine treats disease with medicine. The person doesn't enter. It's just a disease-medicine relationship. Ayurveda starts off by saying that people are different, and that the right medicine for one person may be different from the medicine for a different person, depending on what kind of people they are. And there are 3 general kinds of people, or the 3 forces in our body, which are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And that depending on the levels of your Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, they're going to manifest in different traits, personality aspects, mental aspects, psychological aspects, physical aspects. All of these things relate to Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So Vatas learn things very easily, but also get distracted very easily. They have kind of like an ADHD mind. Whereas Kaphas, like, learn things very slowly, but also forget very slowly. And so if you understand what your dosha is, then you can sort of adjust your doshas, first of all, if some are too high or some are too low. The other thing is that if you understand your dosha, you should play to your strengths. So people think that, like, if you're not driven and focused and ambitious, that you're not going to be successful in life. And, like, I look at my colleagues who are, like, researchers and stuff like that, and, like, I'm amazed by how much they can, like, go to work every day and just do the same damn thing. And then they get grants because they write these, like, 50-page grant proposals that are just the most mind-numbingly boring documents in the world. And then since they get grants and they do research, they apply for different like fellowships and promotions and things like that, and they get them because that's what's valued in academia. And so I look at them and I say like, oh man, like it's so hard for me to do research. It's so hard for me to write a grant proposal. And so I think a little bit about like, oh my God, I'm not as good as they are. But my strengths are simply different. I'm a vata, so I'm way more dynamic. So if I want to be successful, I need to do like a few different things. Like I suck at just doing one thing, but I do really well if I'm doing different things. If I see a few patients today and then like I stream in the evening and then I spend some time writing and then, I spend some time filming, then that's like a great day for me. Like today is a good example. So I took it easy in the morning, did some writing. We worked together. The recovery coaches and I met for a little over an hour and a half. And so I taught for a couple of hours, and then I streamed for a couple of hours, and then I like wrote like a manual, like a chapter for the recovery coach manual. And that's what really works. Right? Like that's what works for me. Like I can't do the same thing every day, but I'll do a better job if I'm doing 2 or 3 different things. So I think the main thing to understand about personality is like when you look at your personality, it doesn't matter whether you're using 5-factor or Myers-Briggs or Ayurveda. And what it really doesn't matter. The main thing is that you understand like for this system, whatever system you're using to understand yourself, like just understand what the system says about you and then develop a strategy based on what the system recommends. Play to your strengths. Okay? And